The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my Ford struggling to keep up. I was bone tired, the kind of tired that settles deep in your marrow after a long day of coding. As a software architect for a tech firm based in Seattle, the deadlines had been brutal lately, and all I wanted was a hot shower and a quiet evening with my wife, Imogen. We'd been married for 7 years, and for the most part, it had been a good run. Imogen was a talented horticulturalist, and her passion for plants had transformed our small backyard into a vibrant oasis. But lately, something felt off. She was distant, preoccupied, and our conversations had dwindled to monosyllabic exchanges about the weather or grocery lists. I chalked it up to stress. She had been working on a particularly challenging project at the botanical garden. Pulling into the driveway, I noticed Imogen's car wasn't there. Odd. She usually got home before me. I unlocked the front door, the familiar click echoing in the sudden silence of the house. I called out her name, but only the hum of the refrigerator answered. I figured she was still at work or maybe had gone out with friends. I wasn't worried, just a little lonely. I headed upstairs to change, and that's when I saw it. A small, cream-colored envelope lying on the dresser. It wasn't addressed to anyone, which struck me as strange. Imogen rarely got personal mail, and we usually just tossed the junk mail straight into the recycling bin. Curiosity piqued, I picked it up. It was sealed with a small, ornate wax stamp, a design I didn't recognize. My heart started to pound in my chest as I carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of heavy, expensive paper. The handwriting was unfamiliar, elegant, and flowing. It read, "My dearest Imogen, the nights are long and empty without you. I long for the touch of your skin, the taste of your lips. Meet me at the usual place tomorrow night. I'll be waiting. Always, Torin." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. My breath hitched in my throat and a cold dread washed over me. Torin. Who the hell was Torin? And what usual place were they meeting at? My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I was reading. This couldn't be happening. Imogen wouldn't do this. Would she? I sank onto the edge of the bed, the letter clutched in my trembling hand. My head was spinning, a chaotic mix of disbelief, anger, and a profound sense of betrayal. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, the wind knocked completely out of me. I decided to wait for Imogen to come home. I needed to hear her explanation, to see the truth in her eyes. Maybe there was a perfectly innocent explanation. Maybe it was a misunderstanding, a cruel joke. I clung to that sliver of hope, desperate to believe that the woman I loved wouldn't betray me so deeply. The hours crawled by. I paced the living room, replaying the last few months in my mind, searching for any sign, any clue that I had missed. Had she been acting differently? Had I been too caught up in my own work to notice? The guilt started to creep in, mingling with the anger and confusion. Finally, around 9 p.m., I heard the familiar sound of Imogen's car pulling into the driveway. I took a deep breath, trying to compose myself to appear calm and collected. I needed to approach this rationally, to give her a chance to explain. She walked in, her face tired but serene. "Hey, Alistair," she said, giving me a quick peck on the cheek. "Long day, yeah," I replied, my voice tight. "Long day." I paused, trying to find the right words. "I found a letter." Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of unease crossing her face. "A letter." "What letter?" I held it out to her, the cream-colored paper a stark contrast to my trembling hand. She took it, her fingers brushing against mine. I watched her face as she read it, the color draining from her cheeks. "Imogen?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Who is Torin?" She didn't answer, her eyes fixed on the letter. The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy with unspoken words. Finally, she looked up at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and defiance. "It's complicated," she said. "Complicated," I repeated, my voice rising. "What's complicated about it? It's a love letter." "Imogen, who is he?" she sighed, running a hand through her hair. "His name is Torin. He's a fellow horticulturalist at the gardens. We've been working together on a project and—" I pressed, my heart pounding in my chest. "Is that all?" She hesitated, her eyes darting away from mine. We've been seeing each other." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Seeing each other." I repeated, my voice cracking. "You mean you're having an affair?" She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to happen, Alistair. It just did." "Mean for it to happen," I exploded, the anger finally erupting. You're telling me you accidentally fell into bed with another man. Do you have any idea how much this hurts?" She started to cry, her shoulders shaking. "I know, Alistair, I know. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did," I shouted, tears streaming down my own face. "You betrayed me, Imogen. You lied to me. How could you do this?" The next few weeks were a blur of anger, tears, and accusations. We fought constantly, the air in our once peaceful home thick with resentment and bitterness. I couldn't look at her without feeling a surge of rage, a deep sense of betrayal that cut me to the core. I tried to understand, to find some reason, some explanation for her actions. But all she offered were vague excuses about feeling neglected, about needing something more. It was all bullshit, of course. A pathetic attempt to justify her own selfish desires. I moved into the guest room, unable to bear sharing a bed with her. The thought of her touching me, of her lying next to me after being with another man, made me sick to my stomach. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, trapped in a reality I couldn't escape. One evening, after another particularly brutal argument, I decided I'd had enough. I couldn't live like this anymore, constantly questioning everything, constantly wondering what she was doing, who she was with. "I want a divorce," I said, the words hanging in the air like a death sentence. She looked at me, her eyes wide with shock. "Alistair, please don't do this. We can work through this. I'll stop seeing Torin, I promise." "It's too late, Imogen," I said, my voice cold and detached. "You broke my trust. You destroyed our marriage. There's no going back." The divorce was messy and painful. We argued over everything: the house, the finances, even the damn garden. I wanted to just walk away, to leave it all behind, but my lawyer advised me to fight for what was rightfully mine. During the discovery phase of the divorce proceedings, my lawyer uncovered something shocking. It turned out that Torin wasn't just a fellow horticulturalist. He was also a convicted fraudster. He had a long history of conning women out of their money, using his charm and good looks to manipulate them. I couldn't believe it. Imogen had not only cheated on me, but she had cheated on me with a con man. I felt a strange mix of anger and pity for her. She had been so blinded by her own desires that she had fallen victim to his lies. I confronted her with the information, and she broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. She claimed she had no idea about Torin's past, that she had been completely duped. Maybe she was telling the truth, maybe not. I didn't care anymore. My only concern was getting out of this mess with as little damage as possible. The divorce was finalized a few months later. I got the house, she got a small settlement, and we went our separate ways. I felt a sense of relief, but also a deep sadness. The woman I had loved was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. I spent the next few months trying to rebuild my life. I threw myself into my work, spending long hours at the office, trying to forget the pain and betrayal. I started seeing a therapist who helped me to process my emotions and to move on from the anger and resentment. One day, I was at a local coffee shop when I saw a familiar face. It was Torin. He was sitting at a table, talking to a woman who looked to be in her late 20s. He was charming her, showering her with compliments just like he had done with Imogen. A wave of anger washed over me. I wanted to march over there and confront him, to expose him for the fraud that he was. But then I stopped myself. What would that accomplish? He was a pathetic, broken man preying on vulnerable women. He wasn't worth my time or energy. Instead, I walked over to the woman he was talking to. "Excuse me," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. You should know that this man is a con artist. He has a long history of manipulating women and stealing their money. Be careful." The woman looked at me, her eyes wide with surprise. She then turned to Torin, her expression hardening. "Is this true?" she asked. Torin's face paled. He stammered, trying to deny the accusations, but the woman wasn't buying it. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and walked away, leaving Torin sitting alone at the table, his face red with shame. I watched him for a moment, a sense of satisfaction washing over me. I hadn't sought revenge, but I had protected another woman from becoming his victim. That was enough. I walked out of the coffee shop, the sun shining brightly on my face. I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. The pain of Imogen's betrayal would always be a part of me, but I was finally ready to move on, to build a new life, a life free from lies and deceit. I moved away from Seattle to San Diego, California, and never looked back. I never saw Imogen or Torin again. I hope both of them learned their lessons from the past, and I am sure that I learned mine.